Morning Liberty.
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston. I'm joined by Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson, Mr. Josiah Baker, the chair of LPTN, and Miss Sam McHugh. Appalachian Region something. I already forgot. I'm sorry.
Czar.
Yes.
No,
The
coordinator.
The Appalachian Czar. No, that's fine. That's fine. You can be the Appalachian Czar. We'll deny it in a few years.
Sure,
that's
of course,
fine.
Of course.
So we've very happy you guys are here. Hope everyone's having a great day so far. And by the way, I want to tell everyone who's listening, make sure you go that you guys might an ad. Is that fine? Yeah. Make sure you go to joingml.com
Yes,
so you can hang out with the Fed Haters Club. And you can hang out with some of these fine folks. And by the way, if you're in the group right now, make sure you tee up some questions for these fine people over here on this side of the table. This is our first time having 4 people in the same room.
On camera
with 4 separate cameras and 4 separate microphones.
So I think we need to give a shout out to both Nate and John.
Thank you, John.
Nate and John for all the hard work.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Nate carry stuff in, and he carried it up the stairs into the studio and set it all up,
like many libertarians would.
And and I'm just saying I'm appreciative.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you appreciative of that?
Prove it.
Extremely.
Not quite enough to help me carry the stuff up the stairs. But,
yeah.
You know. Okay, so we're going to find out what's going on with LPTN right now. I'm a member. Charlie's a member.
Yay.
And for those on that don't know, this is Libertarian Party of Tennessee, LPTN.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But we have a lot of Trump listeners, so
we do.
I just want to make sure,
Yeah, just want to let you guys know that you're wrong and that you should join LPTN for sure. You guys
You're
are members,
wrong and give
right?
us your money.
Yes, you're wrong. We love you. Give us your money, that kind of thing. All right. We're going to start with a news piece that you put out like last week, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you guys want to give yourselves any introductions or anything. I've never managed this many people before.
Okay.
Charlie, have you?
Yeah, I have, but
Okay.
I don't know what to do.
You're doing amazing. You're doing amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
I
don't know what
lead
to
by
do with
letting
me.
people be themselves.
Those are the hallmarks of a great leader.
That's right.
Let me tell you what. Okay. Josiah.
You would start with the man first in this room, would you?
Repeal the 19th.
All right.
You said we said that we would start with the press release.
Yeah, for sure. For those that don't know, or for those that are terminally online that do know, there was a press release, an op-ed, explicit op-ed from me personally, because the presidential race, as we know, is going to be interesting this cycle. Been interesting this cycle already. Me as state chair, it's my fiduciary duty to grow the rank of the party, to grow the party. So there is, in Tennessee, egregious ballot access laws. No one's going to have a libertarian next to their name because I believe it is over 44,000 signatures off the top of my head. Mr. Houck will drop it into the T in the chat. To get an L next to your name, if you're running as a Republican or Democrat, typically it's 25.
That's less.
Yes.
Yeah, 25.
Yeah.
That seems like that would be way easier.
As an independent, it's 275, I believe. That is what the
275, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like if you're an actual third party, that's where they absolutely will not allow it.
That's
okay.
correct. So the national ticket, I'm full disclosures if people don't know, I am on the National Mises Caucus board. Ms. McHugh is one of the state organizers for the caucus. It's our job to get libertarians, because the majority of libertarians are outside of the party for one reason or another, most of the time ineffectiveness, not doing anything. And
hey, Charlie,
we just
how's
almost
it
lost
going?
this whole thing.
Yeah, what's up, man?
he got passionate.
You almost took down the whole desk.
Flipping tables
Good
already.
Lord.
I was trying to help the sound.
Man, you really killed the vibe.
Go ahead.
Josiah, why don't you go ahead and restart that entire thing?
And
Charlie's sorry about that.
No. So at the national, it's all in the op-ed. You can find it on Twitter or Facebook from LPTN. But and the boiled down condensed version is there's a national ticket that got picked. Went till 2 a.m. to do it. And because he's going to be on the ballot, Mr. Chase Oliver. You can read all about it, how I feel about the ticket. He will be on the ballot. They're getting ballot signatures. They have a VIP event tomorrow at the Pharmacy Burger. I believe it starts at 11 and goes to 1:30. I think tickets are like $100 for the private VIP dinner. So kudos to the folks working for that campaign. Me looking at our delegation, the way it voted, and looking at the metrics of our membership, I'm personally supporting Clint Russell and Josie, the redheaded libertarian, as an independent option for president, because I feel that they really speak to our membership base, our values. They're unwavering. They understand the purpose of the presidential ticket, because a libertarian is not winning the presidency. And I think I said this last time. If he did, the question is, does he get shot at the podium or when he gets in the car? I mean, let's just be this is reality.
Yeah.
If they try that for the Big Orange, they're going to a true outsider, definitely. So that's the reality. The purpose of the utility is to speak to, inside baseball term, the remnant, those people that espouse these values, hold these beliefs of libertarianism. And when you speak to them, they answer and they come, and we saw it immediately. There are those that are mad. That's fine. I take the arrows. It's my job to grow the party, and not just grow the party in talk, but in action.
Well, so the thing about Tennessee, though, is that there's not going to be a libertarian on the ballot. Like, it's not going to say someone's name libertarian because of the ballot access laws in Tennessee. So I do think that's a lot different. I was telling you beforehand, I did not like the decision that other state affiliates did, like LPCO with RFK Jr. That's because I don't think RFK is libertarian, and I think it's wrong to stick that name next to RFK Jr., even though I totally understand the benefits of doing that. I get that. That would get a lot of votes for sure. This is way different because there's not a libertarian on the ballot. And Tennessee, if you don't know anything about us, I've had to flip through like 4 pages of independents before on the ballot before. So this is kind of a thing that a bunch of independents get on the ballot, sometimes in protest of the crazy ballot access laws that we have here in Tennessee.
And Tennessee's done that for years. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really terrible.
I think it also speaks to his op-ed too, like why we're doing something different. Like that history alone is just it's parallel.
And when it comes to the ballot access, she was our ballot access coordinator. And she can attest to after National happened.
So we have still an active lawsuit against the state of Tennessee to change legislation around like the discrepancy between 25 for Republican and Democrat, and then 2.5% of the previous gubernatorial election vote, somewhere around 46,000 signatures. So we were working on a lawsuit on that, getting signatures for that. Regionally, we had a whole organization going. Everything was going great. And then Chase got the nomination or the candidacy. And we couldn't. In my region, I'll speak to my region. I can't speak for everyone, but everyone kind of said the same thing. I could not get another signature. Once they found out we were tied to the Libertarian Party, all you have to do is Google Chase Oliver and this red-ass state, especially where I am. I could not get another signature.
That's kind of important for people who are mad about this, is that I think one of the first hurdle LPTN has to get over are the ballot access laws. And so you guys have to work really hard to try and get it to where there's at least a fair shot of getting people on the ballot. And what you said in your op-ed, and what you were just saying, Sam, was that once Chase was the nominee, basically all the work on that ballot access was it was done.
It just stalled out. Yeah.
And the Libertarian Party of Tennessee, because of the ballot access laws, like that just kind of stops everything. No libertarians on the ballot. It's kind of a big deal for a state party affiliate. You know, I think that's a pretty important thing, actually being able to put a libertarian on the ballot. And so I'm fine, or even I guess agree with the idea of doing as many independents as possible. Honestly, you said in your op-ed, I believe, let's put 100 people on the ballot.
Yeah,
you know?
well, I had a former XCOM, beloved Tennessee XCOM member recently. He reached out and he was like, okay, we know the temperature of this. State party's not feeling this. We need somebody on there. And I'm like, yeah, dude, nothing prevents the irony of you got to work within the framework of reality. I mean, you can yell at clouds all you want, but if you don't operate within the framework of reality, you're burning calories for no reason. So this is the reality. If, in theory, people wanted 2,500 libertarians running, all they have to do is do the work to get the ballot signatures to get that many libertarians as independents on the ballot. again, this is doing the work versus talking about or bitching about the work.
Yeah.
I thought we were just supposed to talk about the work, though.
Oh,
You don't wanna
tweeting
actually-
really helps. Tweeting helps a lot.
We're supposed to tweet really hard
Yeah,
about
tweet
stuff.
so hard.
Right, Chuck? We've been
That's-
trying to tweet hard about things.
That's all we do.
Yeah, that's how you make change.
That's how you. That's how
What
you
I can
lead.
tell.
That's how you lead the nation and local
Yes.
groups
Yes.
as well.
So, what else should we mention on this front before we maybe transition into the thing that we're talking about, making jokes about right now?
Yeah.
Anything else about that press release or anything like that?
So Clint and Josie are very principled. They have a huge platform. They use their platform. And by the way, out of all the independents that I know that will be on the ballot, Clint Russell's the only one that successfully defeated a high-profile Republican in a debate. I encourage you to watch his debate with Vivek Ramaswamy, where he roasts Vivek so hard when he says, "I'm tired of the GOP campaigning like Ron Paul and ruling like John McCain." And, and the room erupts at the national convention, and Vivek had nothing to say but a smile and a fist bump.
He was like, "You right?"
That was a good moment.
It was a great moment.
I really like that. And by the way, Vivek doesn't seem like an easy guy to beat in a debate
No.
either. He's actually,
good.
as far as Republicans
Yeah.
go, he's pretty good. You know,
He comes
he's
prepared.
on the better end of Republicans, I would say. And Clint did a great job in that debate. You remember that, right, Charlie?
Yeah, I was there. It was great. Wow.
Charlie, in case
What?
you were wondering,
What?
Clint and Vivek debated at the
Oh, I know.
convention.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
He was the guy in the Spider-Man outfit in the
That's one
corner.
of the things.
One of 7.
I forget that I've done a lot of traveling this year on behalf of the show.
Yeah.
But he was there in spirit with me. So just had this Dave Smith show,
Oh, yeah.
you know. And by the way, you mentioned Clint and Josie. I think they're both great. I don't know everything about what their platform would be, you know, as far as Chase goes. There's one, I'm a single issue non-voter right now.
Correct.
And as I'm sure a lot of people are, I don't mean that to say that Chase is like a terrible guy or doesn't hold any liberty principles, especially when it comes to economics and war and everything like that. He's got some really great positions and all that stuff. I agree with him on actually almost every single thing, except for like one thing.
Except for like
that
the
there
most
is.
important
Yes,
thing.
and I refuse to give it the soft corporate term of gender affirming care. It is forced chemical castration.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, when you enter the realm, this is an age of consent issue, which is a non-starter. You don't go into those waters. We refuse to go in those waters, and Clint and Josie are very adamant and clear. So on single issue voting, the rest of the platform, they're phenomenal on everything. And I encourage anybody interested, go on Twitter because that's where real life happens. Tag them, and they can give you answers, or tag us at LPTN for sure. But that's I have to draw the line there. I can't do that.
I do too. I mean, I've mentioned this a billion times by now, but when it comes to a principal position like that, not just like a tactical or strategic position for a candidate, when it comes to a principal position, I will draw the line, because a vote for a libertarian these days really is, it's like a virtue signal vote, really, because I'm sorry, that they're probably not going to win.
Oh, on that level, no.
And
Oh,
so
God, no.
you're really voting to show your principles at that time. You're voting your conscience, you're voting your principles and your values. And if you're going to do a vote where the person isn't going to win and you're just going to vote your values and your principles, they got to line up with the values and the principles for me to make that vote. And the opposite side of that for me is that I just won't vote. Some people say they're going to vote.
It's an option.
Yeah, not voting is not. Doesn't mean
Right.
that if you hate Trump, it doesn't mean you have to vote for Kamala, Josh. And it and if you hate Chase, it doesn't mean you have to vote for Trump. And not voting is also in
vote.
itself a way of protesting.
It's kind of what I wish, and it'll never happen because media, but when they say, the nation elected this president, no, they didn't actually, because about 30%, maybe 35% of actual eligible voters go vote. So the real majority is the non-vote. Let's just start with that. And so when you find someone closer to your principles and they really can't even get on the ticket, you'll be told you're throwing your vote away, if your vote doesn't count. But it's a goal of mine to bring those non-voters out and get them, there is someone not lesser or too evil, just not evil at all that we can vote for.
Just like all of Palestine voted for Hamas.
You're right.
Yeah. 25
Decades
I
ago,
like what you said there, though, Josiah. The full stop and then Nate and I talk about this a lot, is not participating in the lie.
Yeah.
And like, it's not just, I don't think it's enough, and I'm not going to say silence is violence. However,
you're complicit in child abuse.
yes. And that's the thing when it comes to transing kids, is that it's an egregious, appalling, disgusting, irreversible act. And you can't even say, well, it's just one thing. Maybe we can look past that. It's, as soon as I heard about it and what his stance was on it, I was like, well, I can't vote Libertarian this year.
Yeah.
I can't. Morally, ethically, I can't do it. I have a kid,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if anyone thinks that they
Wait.
set up channels for him to work his way around.
What do you mean he?
Yeah. My kid's a boy.
Okay.
He has a penis.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way. And if anybody thinks they can set up channels like they do in California or whatever to direct him to websites to ask permission for puberty blockers without my permission or my knowledge, I'll go to prison.
Yeah.
Got another thing coming.
So
Exactly.
it's just the way it goes.
So the thing over the weekend with Dave Smith in town, it was a fun night.
That was a great night. Fun.
Great comedy.
Got the band back together.
Yeah.
Great
it was
show.
Fun.
It was a good.
Charlie also wasn't there. Again, wasn't there.
Oh.
I got a shout out. The very first thing at the show
Yeah.
was actually a shout out for the God Hates Feds shirt.
Great shirt.
So GodHatesFeds.com. If you guys want to get a shout out wherever you go or yelled at, whichever one that is.
Same thing. Still shouting, right?
And then there was a live podcast afterwards, part of the Problem podcast. And Josiah, you got up and asked a question.
I did.
And Dave Smith had a response. Now, the question, one thing I was going to check and see is, did you talk to anyone in any camp or anything? Like, was he aware at all of this happening?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm good friends with Robbie.
Yeah.
Robbie's a monster comedian and worker. He does a lot of things behind the scenes for the comedy community and the liberty community. Phenomenal guy. So shout out to Robbie the Fire Bernstein.
Mm-hmm.
And I have mad respect for anybody willing to go do back porch tours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that was
yeah.
awesome. That was the night before.
I mean, to literally like, okay, well, no venue's going to book me. I'm going to go. I'm still going to go on tour,
Those are really fun, though. The vibe is really cool with those
People's
things.
backyards, front porch, back porch,
So
inside the house.
Yeah.
In the bathroom?
In the bathroom.
Yeah.
Whatever works. But yeah, so he had no clue. But all I was asking for, because he's friends with Josie and Clint, supports them, has them on a lot. And my question was, this is what we're doing because Clint and Josie understand the mission of we have work to do, which we'll get to, that we're doing in Meat Space. And having someone principled that speaks to those values is a signal to the people. Like you said, it's a signal. I can work with these people. I can get involved with this because they're taking all my stances. I want to work with these people. And we were there collecting signatures for the ballot. We got over 125 or something like that
We did, yeah.
at one show.
Mm-hmm.
Not just are these signatures for ballot. These are people that want, this is a recruitment league.
Mm-hmm.
And Clint and Josie understood that. It's a dual purpose. We're not vote chasing. No pun intended. Because in reality of this election, every protest vote is going to go to RFK by default.
Mm-hmm.
He's the protest. This is probably the biggest protest vote getting election.
Since Ross Perot.
Yeah. So it's just the purpose is to continue the mission, grow the ranks, and do the real work. And Clint and Josie got that. And so I asked, would you give us a retweet at least, because we're doing that at the state level here. And he had a response.
He did have a response, and we're going to play that response. And I want to add also, Dave was supporting Michael Rechtenwald, and he was not happy about Chase getting the nomination at all. And he was kind of heavily involved with the party politics leading up to the convention. And then the convention didn't go the way that he wanted it to go. And he did kind of say, I believe the week afterwards, that he was taking a step back from, Libertarian Party politics.
Well, he had already
that.
took a step back.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe two.
He did a couple steps back. But let's play that. Everyone, give me a second here. I've got it queued up.
Wait, so you say you're supporting Clint and Josie?
Clint and Josie have agreed to run the presidential ticket because they understand the mission of activating the remnant. We are putting them up as an independent, me personally.
Oh.
The remnant sounds like a militia. I just want to say that. I like Josiah, but this sounds like militia talk.
Militia name, let me say.
Yeah.
I'm down.
It's loading.
Well,
we are collecting signatures for them. And I know you love Clint, you love Josie.
I love both of them. Yeah, both of them are absolutely great, and I love Angela, and I love everybody. You know, I'm like,
Sure.
I'm
I'm gonna take one more, and I'm gonna rotate.
I'm a
I like how that, yeah.
little bit down
We just did a
on
music-
everything right now, if that makes sense. And I don't mean,
I'll get
listen,
you.
I always say, I hate pessimism, and I hate none of that black pill shit here, you know, it's always I'm optimistic about the future because I got kids. I've no other choice. That's the only option. There's no option to be pessimistic. That's it. We're going to win, and now we're going to figure out how we're going to win. But I will say, some of the stuff with the Libertarian Party is, I love libertarians. I totally understand. I'm a member of the Libertarian Party, and for a reason, because even what we were just saying about Trump, it's okay, we can't just go, no, we'll support this guy instead. It's somebody at some point has to plant a flag and be no, this is what we actually should be doing, rather than just constantly being in this, continuous cycle of one party or the other. I just I feel like I'm always in the position of having to give a bitter pill to the Libertarian Party members and be no, you need to swallow this medicine. Because and one of the things that's just been wild to me has been watching, and I have not engaged in it at all. If you've looked at if you follow me on social media, I don't think I've commented on anything regarding the Libertarian Party since the week after the convention.
edgy.
And then, I had Brian McWilliams on the show and we talked a bit about it, but I'm just kind of staying out of it. But the amount of energy that I've seen from so many members of the Libertarian Party on social media talking about whatever the latest thing in the Libertarian Party is. Well, Chase is the nominee, but he wasn't on this ballot, and they're doing a thing with RFK, whereas that's not what the party's supposed to be doing, and this happened at the LNC, and this happened over here, and people all day tweeting about it. And I'm talking from every camp. Mises Caucus, listen, our Mises Caucus included, all of these people, and you're dude, the last 3 weeks have been the craziest 3 weeks in modern American history, dude. The fucking presidential frontrunner got shot in the head. The president of the United States dropped out of the race. All of this. And if you care more about what's going on with your state Libertarian Party affiliate than what's going on with your nation, then why the fuck should you ever be in a position of power in your nation? Why should anyone ever put you in a position to actually care about? And so it's my message has always been to the people in the Libertarian Party, hey man, party politics is one thing, but that's 17th on your list of priorities, dude. What really matters is what's actually happening around you. And so that's just that whatever you're doing in the Libertarian Party, that's just what I would stress the most. Engage in the real fucking world, not your own dumb little world about who's arguing over who controls this irrelevant third party, which, by the way, I want my people to control that irrelevant third party very much. But anyway, that's kind of my message on the whole thing and where I'm at. Rob, where's who we got next? Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it.
Hey, you said thank you at the end of it. So that was nice.
This is my first time hearing this, obviously. My first thoughts initially, what popped in my head was his debate with Nicholas Sarwark. When he talked about not compromising principles, when he talks about someone needs to plant the flag, right? That was gonna be him. That was gonna be, he was the one to carry the flag and the torch of the Libertarian Party and be the voice like Ron Paul to not compromise principles as he stood up to Nick Sarwark and those people. And then all of a sudden it's almost as this in the last 3 weeks, he's changed tunes to where it's okay to change our principles and care about things.
Yeah, who even cares about decentralization anymore?
Yeah, right.
Like, is it even a thing?
Let's care about what's happening nationally versus what we can actually
That was crazy to me, the flip.
accomplish.
Yeah, that was actually the biggest contradiction to me, is that he was a big Mises guy, and that's decentralization is sort of Mises, like their whole thing, you know?
Yes, the treatise of our political strategy is literally called Project Decentralized Revolution. By the way, Michael Heiss is now a Libertarian Party staff member. So Project Decentralized Revolution, look it up because it's getting nationalized.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they would care about it then.
Yeah, in a good way.
But you know, it is, first off, caveat, I've always loved Dave's content. He is one of the greatest speakers, arguably one of the best, if not the best, at getting on the biggest stages and espousing our values on issues, et cetera, et cetera.
And destroying people in debates.
Correct.
Not just Sarwark, but I mean,
Like the media, the CNN one.
against Chris Cuomo, and he's a great orator and an arbiter of the message.
Correct.
Yeah.
He is phenomenal with words.
People in the live group are saying that he's obviously annoyed or angry, and that's kind of like,
But he doesn't
it's almost
get-
like his bitterness is coming out.
Which
in
is
that
ironic
response.
because he doesn't get to be, because we're here where we are in the reality that we're in, because he decided not to run. So when you get chicken shit, you make chicken salad.
It also shows how detached he is from the pragmatism and the process for how this works. Like in decentralization itself, he's like real world versus dumb world. He didn't understand the purpose of running Clint and Josie. We know they're not going to win.
Yeah.
We're not so detached from reality. Like, he's detached from the mission enough to not recognize that this is a message drive. This is we've done a lot of work here in LPTN. We want to keep growing that. We don't want to lose that progress by having just Chase on the ticket. He couldn't recognize that. It's a detachment from the reality that is libertarianism from him.
So he said we should be focusing on the national thing, okay? And he's saying that to a guy who announced himself as the chair of one of the state affiliates and saying you shouldn't be worried about whatever your state affiliates are doing. Now, that's sort of your job as the chair of one of the Libertarian Party's state affiliates. There's also people who run LP National. They worry about what LP National is doing.
And they're also involved in their state affiliates that they live in geographically and are up current with their dues to national and state.
Yeah. And so that's sort of I don't know if that's a misunderstanding or, let's also just say it's possible. He's at a comedy show, he's doing a live thing and he's riffing a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to give just a little bit of leeway on maybe not fully thinking out every single thing that was said in the moment at that time, because I say a lot of dumb stuff sometimes, and
We all do.
and then I'll say,
Not me, never.
I'll say if I was wrong, and so I would invite Dave to say whether or not he would take back any of those things that he said there, because it was very counterintuitive to the entire decentralization message, the way that parties work in the first place. You are chair of a state affiliate, and you are trying to put someone on the ballot who is actually going to make the members of your state happy and that they'll be willing to
grow.
vote for. Yeah, actually, wait. I thought, does Chase grow state parties? I thought he maybe helped. Maybe he helped grow state parties.
So in Atlanta during the run, where you got a lot of protest votes and did the runoff, and it's in my op-ed, and there are receipts. I talked to during that campaign, because a lot of metrics that libertarians use are X amount of votes equals members, and it's just not math. During that entire campaign,
girl math.
yeah. Careful, she's a
He says
freaking
we're the only
chemist, so-
physicists chemists in the room.
It's home math. It's not.
Home math, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
For sure.
But so I had some folks at Georgia that pulled the membership numbers during the entire campaign, and it was 10 people, 4 of which earmarked themselves as Mises protest joints. 10,
Okay.
10. I don't know how many dollars were spent, but out of what was it, 80,000 votes or so? I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. 10 votes, and we need more than 10 members for the work that we're doing, and we'll get to the work. And if people, I issued a challenge, hey, if you would disagree with me or agree with me, either way, use this as a recruiting tool because it makes all of us better.
Mm-hmm. I think
There's a few comments from the live group real people I want to address. People who are saying he's angry and his son had a hole in his heart. I want to be clear that I'm not blasting Dave Smith because he dropped out of the race. I mean, for whatever reason that he decided not to run is fine by me. I'm not blasting him for that. What I'm challenging him on is the essence of his whole career and stance. And people said in the live group, people are saying his best method of supporting the Libertarian Party is from his platform and from his stage, right? That's actually what I'm upset about, is that it doesn't matter that he's not running or carrying the flag or anything like that. It's that this entire time he has used his platform and his message and got on the biggest stages, being one of, if not the best orbiters of the message and the real work it takes to get there and not compromising on principles, to all of a sudden using his platform and stage to answer a question in which he's basically saying your little state work doesn't matter.
And he's saying
it's opposite of what he has been his whole life.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's saying everyone should do what I'm doing, but I think he has to realize that not everyone's friends with Joe Rogan. But
then he opened it about people just making noise online about the latest scary thing about that's what you do, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's what you do for work.
He does great. He does great.
And he does a
viral
great
tweets.
job at it.
They go well, but not everyone is at that point. And also, those viral tweets are important, but they mean nothing if they don't organize people on the ground to do things.
Correct.
So a viral tweet doesn't go and vote. And then just because you retweeted something, those retweets don't count as votes in elections either. And so those tweets are important because they get people stirred up and they get them to actually go do things in the ground in their states where they live.
And they need to know where to go to do the stuff.
Yeah.
That's, because again, yelling at the clouds, no matter how many retweets it gets. And again, I still love Dave. I work with him with whatever. I mean, that's a caveat, but I think it's just a disconnect.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a clock's not one big gear. There's so many moving parts. The body has a mouth, it has feet, it has hands. I got a big mouth, but right now, dude, sleeves are rolled up and we're doing real shit. So
I think what bothered me, kind of what I just said, was I just joined the state party because I realized that just tweeting was not actually going to do anything, because what I was saying by I'm just going to tweet is, well, that's enough. But what if the person I'm tweeting to also says, well, I'm just going to tweet, that's enough. And the people that read their tweets
and then
say,
nothing
well, I'm
happens.
just going to tweet.
Right, yeah.
And in that whole cycle, no one does anything.
yeah. Tweeting is the fiat currency of productivity.
I will say though, props to Nate at the end of the show. He grabbed a clipboard. We were getting people, and he got some signatures.
I
He did
did.
great.
I
Little
did.
activist you.
I activisted that night. It was my first time.
And I think if you look at reality, to me, the left has the worst ideas, but the reason why they're even competitive is I think they're the best at getting local people
They
to
show
do
up.
things. Yes. And even if they don't show up in large numbers to
Maybe they don't have
conventions,
jobs. We don't know.
or even if they will show up in large number to concerts.
They will, yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you look at the organization of leftist groups, they're well-oiled machines, right? And that's what actually moves the needle.
They ran through the institutions.
Yes.
They show up, they start local, they show up at the local meetings, facial recognition. All of a sudden, Billy Bob the commie is on this little board, and then they just climb the natural order ladder of things, and then they go through guess what? They go local, state, then they go federal, and then you get
They already run the education institutions.
Correct.
I mean, and so then they just spit out a bunch of these, leftist babies to go out in the real world. Well, and they teach them in college like it's your job to change the world, right? And so they're kind of indoctrinating them at that point, and it's like, well, what can we do to change the world? Oh, I can join, whatever, Commie-Con communist.
Nice.
Did you just make that up?
I did.
That's amazing.
the festival ends with everyone against the wall.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Next. Oh, so there are things going on at LPTN right now.
Yes,
Even much to Dave Smith's chagrin, you guys are actually still going to do work on the ground.
Yes, we are not.
Yeah.
We're very well read, but we're not a book club. We're also not a social club. We're well organized across the state, and I'll go through the full dissertation here. I'll start with legislation. I'll start with two of the bills. I'll let you cover the two that you're well versed on. Some of the bills that we're pushing. We're working with net liberty organizations, parallel things. that are, single issue coalition groups. So there are, Americans for Prosperity, homesteading groups, Citizens United. She spoke at a meeting, where was it, Athens?
Yeah.
Last week. People that are involved in their local communities. These issues clearly matter to them and they don't show up. We're doing that. We have HB 2043. It is a grocery tax.
Can I pause you there real quick just to let the listeners know? So this whole national versus like local debate, I think we're kind of having here against kind of Dave, who's not here, but based on his comments, what a lot of people in the liberty movement or libertarian movement, they always want to know what they can do, because it seems as if the national is like an ocean we're trying to boil and we can't, right? We don't have the furnace to boil the ocean that is national politics. Okay. But what can we do to actually affect real people's lives, real liberty, right? And the best way to do that, we talk about this at Young Americans for Liberty, the YOW conventions.
Hey.
We talk about this.
Hi, Jenny.
At local state parties. We talk about this in local councils, right? There are things that you can do even inside your own HOA that actually gives liberty to people and affects their real lives. Okay. There are reasons why Tennessee is a better state to live in than California.
100%.
And why a lot of people are moving from California and New York to places like, I think it was Tennessee, Florida, Texas. They're all on like the top 10 list of influxes of people, which is weird. Most of them don't have a state income tax. Arizona is another one of them. People are fleeing states where it's even worse in that state because of the state level politics. Okay, so there are real things that you can do, and there are real organizations like LPTN and others that are working on real policy and real things that are actually giving people freedom.
And that's why it's like he mentioned those other groups, political activism groups. They're not libertarian, but we have to work with them in order to get that net liberty. We use that phrase a lot, net liberty. Like, yeah, okay, this Republican's running. No, we're not going to endorse him, but we will promote the principles that are more based than the other guy. So
I wanted to address a question in the group right now. What is the goal with running Clint? I believe what I understood as the goal is that the biggest thing you guys have to work on is changing the ballot access laws. And in my opinion, having someone that the majority of people in Tennessee would want to ever be on the ballot, like Clint, instead of someone like Chase. Like, you go up to someone and say, hey, will you help us, change Tennessee's ballot access laws, whatever it is you have to do. If you're talking to Congress people or you're trying to get signatures for something, whatever that is. And they're like, oh, well, who's the candidate you're trying to get on there? And you're like, oh, there's Chase, and here's his stuff. And they're like, no.
Never mind.
They're like, no, I'm
Right,
not.
yeah.
I'm
They're
not
like,
going to
who?
help you.
It's a Chase.
And so putting up a candidate that won't turn people away in that conversation, in my opinion, is the important part of putting someone like Clint on the ballot instead, because the number one thing, as we talked about a little bit ago, is that we need to be able to actually have a libertarian on the ballot. It'd be pretty important. That's like step one. Like the LPTN still kind of held like step 0 right now as far as getting votes, because you can't even get a libertarian on the ballot.
Exactly.
So hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
I think in baby steps all the time. It's always in baby steps.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to.
That was good.
I wanted to address that.
Just imagine yourself speaking in front of a crowd, and they're like, somebody asks a question like, well, who's your candidate? And you're like, oh, it's Chase. Well, what does he stand for? He wants to lower your taxes. Yeah. Everybody's cheering.
War, yay.
It's like, oh, he's the best on economics. Yay. He wants to, no more wars.
He's
yeah.
great on those
Everybody's
things,
cheering. He wants to trans kids. And the whole crowd's like,
Well, it depends on where you are.
Yeah.
You might have
in Tennessee. We're talking about in Tennessee.
Right.
Yeah. Again, working within the reality of where we're at in Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's that single issue thwarts any coalition work because it is a hyper non-issue.
Yeah.
Except weird blue towns. Sorry, Tatum in Memphis.
All right. So we interrupted your role that you were on with all the great things that you're doing.
Yeah.
So these are the local things that
these are
LPTN
state initiatives.
Yes.
These are bills that are out there. So we already did great work, and we will be doing again on the Defend the Guard bill. I think it was HB 1609, correct me if I'm wrong, advanced the football farther than anyone that I know of as far as getting it through subcommittee to committee, really whip that. And we have a whole team. And this is something, if freedom legislation is important to you, reach out to us because we have a team that will train you on how we do this with email, phone banking, showing up and knocking doors, harassing politicians in nonviolent means for those watching. So some of the bills that we're looking at, there is a grocery tax reduction, get rid of bill, the HB 2043. Mr. Halsey out of your area has the second bill that I listed. It is gold as a currency in the state of Tennessee.
Wow. Okay.
HB 1479 and Senate Bill SN 519. That's a big deal. Not just to libertarians. Everybody, again, real world application. How many, when you're sitting at the truck stop or red light or whatever, how many gold coin buying guys, pawn shop guys, that you walk in every one of those and mention this bill number, we're supporting that. This is where you can find us. Every single one of those places is a single issue coalition guy now, and somebody's fighting for what matters to them.
I mean, that's something that I think a lot of even Republicans are super interested in, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when you guys are working on this, what are you talking to Congress people? Are you like, how are you working on these things?
It is a song and dance, and I'm getting ready to turn it over to her because she just bullied a politician this week, and I'll let her
Yesterday.
go through the process.
Congrats on that.
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I met my first congressman and went to her, or I guess congresswoman, and went to her office and verbally beat her up a little bit. It was good.
Does she want to meet with you anymore?
Oh, she really doesn't have a choice now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
That's
it went
good.
great. No, it went great, but it was based on a permitting issue. She ignored a constituent for 3 years. This constituent has an issue that several people in her district also have a problem with. Real rural area. I actually met the person who I knew we could help. That's why I went and did this. But like a 50 to 70 small farm community of homesteading families out there. And it's an environmental issue. The permitting is bullshit. He's been ignored for 3 years. He's trying to get answers. All he wanted was a meeting with her to understand. He's not like, I want to meet with you and you're going to get my permit. He just wanted to understand, and she ignored him for a long time. So I wrote a scathing email to her about, hey, it's a re-election year. Hey, you are the Tennessee GOP Republican nominee, even though there's more in your area. You're the only recognized one. I know you have all this fundraising money. All you've done is mailers and door knockers. Like, where's the rest of it going? Also, I know how you voted on the pipeline. Also, I know how you did this. I recommend you take a meeting with us. Do you want to get coffee? And within 24 hours, and my little region did a little phone bank. They called her office too until she picked up, and then I went out there. We got our meeting, and we got what we needed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you thought about maybe just tweeting about Trump instead?
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
That's great. That's great. But there's things going on in D.C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. More serious. Yeah, we'll
We'll
talking
keep it right
serious
here,
right now.
and you can take over the next two bills.
Oh, okay. So still related to like the rural community. I'll be moving. That's why I'm kind of into these more food freedom and property freedom and property tax type initiatives. I'll be moving to Dixon County in the fall. But I met the homesteading group. There's a lot of issues I think we could help with. And the next two pieces of legislation, a lot of them are proposed by Frank Nicely. And he's up for re-election as well. He's got the seed saving bill, HB 1850. That was actually taken off. Like they killed it back in March. And there's no, there's that site you can track the progress. I think there's no reason why. They just got killed. There was no follow-up meeting. There was no, at least no documentation of a session regarding it. It was just gone. And there's several more that Frank Nicely has proposed, being able to sell your milk and eggs. And one that really blew my mind was it literally just said, you have the right to determine what's nutritious to feed your family. And they killed it.
Huh.
They killed it.
Yeah.
And so again, Frank Nicely, not a libertarian, net liberty guy. So
Sounds like a nice guy.
yeah.
Frankly,
Quite frankly. But no, he's up for re-election. He's also big on homeschooling. There's a lot of legislation that I think if you go to these smaller single action coalition groups, They are focused on their region, their district, who their representative is. And if you get them active in there, you can really make a difference in legislation. You can show up at the Capitol building and harass a politician just like me.
And honestly, why should anybody care about your opinion on national things if your neighbors and backyard don't know you exist?
Are you saying to like clean your room before you try to take on the world? You know, that kind of sounds like that thing to me. This is our room.
If I had a good Kermit the Frog voice, I'd do it right now for Jordan Peterson there. But no, you're right. And you're right. And these are practical things. And for people that aren't in Tennessee that are getting bored to tears, every single one of you out there has the ability to do this. All it takes is the time and the effort. The training's not hard. You're going to fail. You're going to sweat. You're going to choke up. You get up. You do it again. Because guess what? It's Saul Alinsky 101. It's not about what you have. It's the perception about what you have. And when these,
and it's also the persistence.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's the old squeaky wheel gets the.
And just a touch of masochism.
Just enough. A skosh.
I
Yeah.
was just
Grease is what Charlie was about. The squeaky wheel gets the other wheel.
Butter or something. Yeah. So, and who doesn't like butter?
Yeah.
Right. And
All right,
that's the. No, I was just gonna say.
Can
on a
someone
serious
note,
else
talk?
On a serious note, that's actually what affects change.
yes.
You know, and those things are actually important. There's other, I'll bring up the Beacon Institute. I did some work for them, even though I disagree with them on some things. For instance, wanting corporations to pay more taxes. They produce a pork report similar to Rand Paul's for the state of Tennessee, which I actually think is really good. And we disagree on some things. However, they are really good at getting the legislation to move. They were paramount, like I think it was 8 years ago, in getting a bunch of licensure removed for like braiding hair and brushing horses and things like that, where
There was one brushing horse. Yeah,
You're kidding me.
there were where people's liberty was severely affected, and you couldn't even braid hair without getting a cosmetology license.
Oh my God.
Well, the Beacon Institute led efforts in getting those things removed from the Tennessee state legislature. And those are really important for real people's lives happening here in Tennessee. And as to Josiah's point, this is happening nationally. You can affect change in your, not even, let's go more local than state.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had people from the Libertarian Party get on city councils not too far from here that are business owners who get on city councils and expose even the city corruption, where they're paying $35,000 for sausage biscuits from a gas station. And it turns out the gas station owner was buddies with somebody on the city council. That's how they were getting their $35,000 for sausage biscuits. Now, of course, the sausage biscuits went to a good cause.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to get that removed, but I'm pretty sure he succeeded in exposing, because he used to actually do the budget meetings on Facebook Live. And that transparency exposed the corruption.
Are you referring to Mr. Ebel?
I am, in Carthage.
Yeah, Mr. Ebel has been phenomenal in this party. And again, getting off the internet and being in real life, Mr. Ebel, I think he lost his reelection campaign by maybe 50 votes. And there were people that are very influential in that county with long-standing name recognition from family businesses.
Spent a bunch of money to beat him.
It's my understanding that they did not. And they were in the party. I don't know if they've quit. They've quit a lot. But it's my understanding that there wasn't a lot of effort. And again, this is get off the internet.
No, I meant the people who beat him.
Oh, yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah,
Cole.
they spent a lot of
They
money
spent a lot of
Yeah.
money.
to get rid of Cole because he was exposing them. And he still only lost by like 50 votes.
Yes, and all it takes is a well-organized minority doing real things to move the needle. And I hope he reconsiders running again. He's a phenomenal guy, great business owner. And speaking of candidates, we can go straight into that. I'll just rapid fire these. So on top of pushing legislation, and maybe this is just a 101 if you're wanting to get involved in your state level parties, these are some things you can do, because you don't want to be a dog catching the wheel when you win and you don't have a plan, both short term and long term. So as it stands right now, we have Mr. Keith Nolan in Chattanooga. He will be running in 2026 for state rep. He's already laying the groundwork right now. Miss Sam McHugh, 23rd District Senate. She will be running in 2026. We have Mr. Chris Llewellyn. He is running for sheriff. He has stances on nullification for both weed and firearms out in Scott County. Met with him last week, I believe.
Just to pause there, like before he goes into some of these, they are, and this is just to show the baby steps are working. There's progress being made. A lot of these people were not libertarians, but came to us wanting to run as libertarian candidates because of the principles. Yes. So we're getting the word out there. We're going to events. We're going to festivals. We're going to things like that. They came to us. We didn't go like, oh, do you want to do it? Like, no. So it's happening. It's working.
That's correct. And a caveat when it comes to running candidate, you want electable people in winnable races.
Electable, yes.
Electable is a big word because sometimes people that raise their hand
Lots
and say,
of
I want to run for something. But these are inherently impressive, established people in their communities. Mr. Will Bolton, who hosted the meeting, he came to us via the Tennessee Taking Action single issue coalition group about gun rights in Tennessee that was a response to the shooting and the push for gun confiscation and legislation and all that stuff. He's a constable candidate in Athens, and he's the Citizen United chairman that hosted the meeting. Again, all you got to do is show up.
Not technically a libertarian, but doing all the right things, right?
So net liberty.
Net liberty.
Yeah.
Net liberty, and he will be libertarian. I know you're watching.
Yeah, he's
well.
coming. I see you will.
Mr. Josh Wickham, he's new to the party. He is running for city council up in Clarksville. And he is he's been on multiple campaigns, has experience as campaign manager in campaigns. I think he has a good chance of winning. And then Mr. Mark Lobliner, I'm sure you guys know him. He has announced he runs a gym over here of thousands and thousands of members. If they all show up and vote, he will win. He has announced he is running for Brentwood City Council in May. He's a Mises Caucus guy. He's an LPTN guy, a very intense guy, bodybuilder. And we're looking forward to that.
That's a lot of old Williamson County money there.
Yeah. And just 2 days ago, Smitty, our LPTN regional coordinator out in Knoxville, texted me, another one that came to us, filled out the form on our website. Another one. A gentleman by the name Billy Bailey. He is a local pastor, local businessman. He's not 10 years older than God, like a lot of people that run for these offices. We'll get to the youth movement, but he's running for District 12 House Rep in 2026 in Sevier County. These are all inherently impressive people running they're electable and they're running winnable races, and that's what matters. These people all have nullification power versus the federal and state government.
This is all great, Josiah. It is. But what do their Twitter accounts look like?
How many followers?
And have they tweeted about Trump's assassination attempt?
So here's the fun part about this is the fun part about likes and retweets. Whenever you get those, whoever did that is on the toilet.
True.
Yeah.
Again, fiat currency for productivity. But yeah, this is all the people that are, we're not running for the meaningless things. We're running for things that actually have nullification powers. For those that don't know, that means we don't do that here. I don't care what Uncle Sam says. I don't even care what the state folks say. We don't do that in our county. We don't do that here. And dirty little secret, you have to have local enforcement of federal and state laws.
And we did keep bringing up, like, most of these people are libertarians. Some are not registered libertarians. So how do we how do you quantify net liberty? Mm-hmm. So our political committee within LPTN, legislative committee, Rich Leach, she's amazing. He and I think,
Brandon Nelson.
Yeah. So they developed a candidate survey. So whether they're a libertarian or not, we push this survey to them. What are your stances on these core issues, these libertarian principles, these, whatever you're tied to, how do you view this? And we give them a grade based on that. Yes. I've had some local election people, mayors and mayor candidates in my region, and I've passed this to them. And sometimes they ignore it and they get an automatic F. And when they answer it, we really go through it. Like, how net liberty are you? So it's not just like, oh, well, we want a libertarian candidate, so let's get them on there. Like, we really qualify these people now. Like, it's not just anybody who wants to be a third party and doesn't agree with the duopoly. Like, it's definitely coming into a real process and very, I guess, analytical approach to how we allow these candidates to run.
And when you have that data as hey, this is where they stand on this quasi-voting guide, that's where the tweet comes into play. And it has value because it carries weight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like the idea that you're actually vetting candidates and that you're actually looking for electable people. And you said in winnable races also. This is all sounding very Young Americans for Liberty right now to me.
My daughter's there right now.
Yeah. I thought about going there without Charlie too, but decided not to. They've always done really great work, and of course they've always pushed predominantly all Republicans. But I believe they've gotten a lot of good net liberty people in there, and so. I know Charlie's the same way as I am on this. Honestly, don't care if there's an L next to someone's
I don't care
name.
if it's a Democrat.
Yeah.
If they're doing something, well, it's tough for the Democrats right now. But
yeah. I mean,
that was a nice.
Why, what's going on?
But it's a nice, it's a nice idea. It's a nice idea that there could someday be a Democrat who's not trying to be a tyrant.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one in a long time.
The problem is they kill those.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
that's true.
And caveat, if anybody's interested in getting this survey, you can literally take LPTN out of it, and you can use it in your local chapters, your state chapters.
Yeah, it's universal.
It's universal. It is a voter guide for how this person stands on issues that matter to us.
So I'm hearing all this stuff right now, and I won't make the obvious joke about, tweeting and stuff, but on a more serious note for that, I'm questioning while you guys are talking, what Dave meant by not worrying about what's going on with your little state affiliates and all that kind of stuff, and worry about what's going on nationally. Does everyone who's listening right now, do you understand what it would mean if people like this were just like, I'm not going to worry about what's going on in my state right now. We're just going to worry about what's going on nationally. What the are they supposed to do about that?
I'll answer that. Let's rewind to one of Dave's best topics, like he destroyed Cuomo on. Federal was doing what they were doing, but it was local municipalities. It was state people shutting down multiple businesses. I know it feels like 100 years ago, but tell me that doesn't matter to the third generational grocery store owner who didn't get to follow his lifelong dream of being in the family business, and now he's got to deliver groceries for Uber. Tell me it doesn't matter to the people that didn't get to go to their father's cancer treatments or didn't get to go do a bar mitzvah or whatever. Tell me that doesn't matter.
The birth of their son.
Yes,
tell
me that doesn't matter, and tweeting about national matters, because I can tell you have perverse incentives if that's what matters to you. Local and state level were the ones top down dictating. Correct. And Dave's great on this. I hope with his argumentation ethics that he can reconcile this.
And to your point, it was he didn't know the question was coming, and I'm not saying he's inherently anti-libertarian now. I'm just maybe as he was going through that thought process of what he's seen and how he can speak to it and his detachment from active libertarianism, he just it was targeted at noise, and that all he sees is making noise because he's not looking at the state level. So maybe he couldn't answer to that.
Yeah.
So maybe if he would take a minute and kind of look at the more active parties and see what's really happening, in Tennessee, and I think Texas is blowing up right now for a Libertarian Party, especially in the 2A realm. If he would see that, I don't think he would have to necessarily renege on it. I don't know if we have to edit that out. No. I'm just kidding.
No, Dave will be fine with that.
Yeah. But maybe just reassess his answer and give context to what he ended up answering, if that makes sense.
I still think, like we're saying, that I think he was in a live show moment, few beers deep, and on an
inherently politically activated show.
Yeah, and I think he wants to talk about what's going on nationally because that does better on your show. It identifies, people around the entire country can identify directly with the things that you're talking about, and I think that's what he's geared more towards.
I think it's important because, and we talk about it on this show, it is important what's happening nationally.
Yes.
It's important that there was an attempt on the life of President Trump.
Absolutely.
It's important that Joe Biden dropped out and has been senile his entire presidency.
Massive.
Yeah.
Right? It's important that Kamala Harris, it's important that the Democrats staged a coup.
Yeah.
That is important
Yes.
for people to pay attention to, because you look at what happens, around the world, like Venezuela is obviously in the news recently, and those types of things can become real in the United States. And that's important. But what's your best defense against something like that happening in the United States? A strong state.
Yes.
A strong state to say, we will not comply. For South Dakota to be like, we will not comply. Right? To have a governor, she doesn't have balls, but she did then.
Yeah.
Right?
Or dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. to stand up
dogs.
and be the only governor in the entire country. All other 49 states did lockdowns. She's the only one who did enforce masks and lockdowns and let people actually live their lives. That is the best defense we're going to have about something coming from the top down, like what we see happen around the world with authoritarians and dictators.
Mm-hmm.
And, it doesn't matter whether it's the left thinks it's the right or the right thinks it's the left that's going to be authoritarian. Nationally, what matters is that we can build up a coalition of defenses against that. And like I said, your best bet for that is going to be at the state level, or even at the county level, man.
Yeah.
Each one of you listening right now probably has an LP state affiliate. I'd say you probably do, unless you're in like Germany or something like that. I mean, you might have an Libertarian Party there. I don't know.
We had a guy
where
from
you're listening.
Holland at the Dave show. He's like one of the
Yeah.
founders of the Libertarian Party
Nice.
of Holland. It was dope. Yeah.
But there's
Nice.
somewhere that you can get involved
Holland.
locally to actually do
It's exactly how it sounded.
Yeah.
to do something. You got more stuff?
So one of the things real quick, you mentioned Young Americans for Liberty. We have a big youth movement right now. Like most LPs, it's like going in your grandpa's church and really have to poke the body to make sure they're alive. And that's more of your book club, social club circles. We have a youth infusion right now. We have families. We have wives showing up. When I got up and introduced Robbie the other night, I said, hey, for the first time ever at a Libertarian event, I can say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And that's important. That is family unit buy-in. And that matters because for the long term. So we have a youth movement. I know you guys know Prax Ben on TikTok and Twitter and whatnot. He is now the Southern Region Coordinator for y'all.
Nice.
And growing the presence in the state schools and convention. And actually, her daughter, Jenny Kondo, is on the way right now. She's now the eastern part of Tennessee coordinator, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So this is like, she's just getting her feet wet. She's 19 in college. She found her way here. I'm not pushy with that stuff. But she likes it. She wants to get more involved. A lot of times with the youth movement, it's like, how? I think you mentioned earlier, like looking at national politics is really overwhelming for anyone who cares but doesn't really know how to start. So it starts with something you're passionate about. Hers is weed legalization or decriminalization, just starting somewhere there. So she's going there to learn some skills, network, kind of, that's a good way to get your feet wet. Find something you're passionate about, push toward that, and you learn about everything as you go. And that's why I wanted her to go.
I love that. I love that you got someone that's actually working on a specific issue too. And it's good sometimes to drill down on one specific thing that you're working on because like Charlie was talking about boiling the ocean. I mean, it can be tough when you're working on a billion different issues like that.
It's overwhelming, man.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. You don't build a house rooftop first.
That's true. Yeah.
Brick by brick for a foundation.
I do need a new roof on my house, though. So if there is anyone who's going to try to build rooftop first, I'll let you try at my house. That's fine. All right, what else we got? Anything else?
We will be hosting, as I said, she's a Mises Caucus. I'm on the national board. We'll be co-hosting a Twitter space this Saturday.
Okay.
Those have been very fun. I'm not going 5 hours like they did the other night because I do need my sleep. But we will be hosting that when we get back to our separate corners of the state, and it's going to be great. Really looking forward to that. And again, this is another avenue of connectivity, and that's using Twitter, in my opinion, in an effective way.
Yeah.
That's
Dave will be thrilled. It's a Twitter space.
Finally, you're doing something worthwhile.
But in all honesty, man, if you're out there, and again, I know this is a hyper Tennessee conversation geographically because this is where we're here. But if you're in any state, if you just reach out to chair@lptn.org, let me know where you're at. Give me your contact info. I will put you in the right direction. Like we're very well connected, both nationally and more importantly here in the state.
All right.
One last comment from the group, Fed Haters Club, joingml.com. Dan says that being charitable, I think what he was really saying was that huge stuff was going on, like assassination and coup, and bickering about inter-LP local politics while that was going on isn't that important. I think that's fair.
And I would agree with Dave on that, but that wasn't what we were talking about.
Right. That wasn't the question.
Well,
Right.
I do think he kind of, I think he was referencing someone in Colorado at that time because he did start with the RFK thing and all that.
And he did say the last 3 weeks, it's just been what the most important thing to the libertarian is in your, place.
I think that is sort of started his rant was thinking about that. And
He started with his conclusion and worked his way back.
I think some of that rant can be attributed to some of the things we've seen.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with him on this.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But then some of the, some of the things about working on stuff at your state level. It's just can't.
Yeah, I can't believe you
can't
so
get-
blatantly said that when
Yeah.
like most of your audience
Why did
who was not always national, like they came from your decentralized
Correct.
Yeah.
point of view.
Yeah. You know,
Whatever.
here we are, still
Yeah.
doing it. Still, Dave, love you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know him, so I can't make that judgment.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
But I'm sure we get along
I
just
don't know
fine.
him personally.
You know.
I sat next to him on a plane once.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the way back from South Dakota. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I was
no.
his
Planes go to
chauffeur at
South
that-
Dakota.
Yeah.
All 200 people that live there need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Dave was doing the
He was emceeing Freedom Fest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
MC and Freedom Fest that
Yeah.
year, and Charlie, of course, flies first class.
That was actually the first time I met you guys because I walked by and I was like,
Yeah.
I know you.
I remember that.
And we had the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other.
Yeah, I remember you coming up to the table. Then you had different hair at that time. I remember.
Before the plug.
Yeah, and yeah, Charlie sat next to him on the plane, and he talked to him for a minute and asked him if he'd come on a show sometime. And he said, "Yeah, man, just hit me up." And we hit him up, and he never responded. So
Yeah.
That's our
And then
story.
he went to sleep and I went to sleep. I'm not someone who's going to
Yeah.
pester someone,
Yeah.
you know?
I understand that he was just being nice. He was like, "All right, what can I say to get this guy to stop talking
Yeah.
right now? Let me give him what he wants right now. Yes, I will. Great, it worked."
Yeah.
He really should run for office. They're really
Don't
good at that.
respond. Yeah. All right. Anyone else have anything monumental and important to say?
Thank you guys for sitting through this.
Okay. Charlie, close us out.
All right, y'all. If you enjoyed today's episode, share the show with a friend, a family member, or a foe. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast and Spotify, which you can watch the video on now, or go to YouTube. I believe we're almost there on YouTube to them finally releasing
We've almost
us.
made it.
What happened? Releasing you?
Yeah, well, we got several strikes during COVID and stuff, and we weren't allowed to monetize. And
Just had another video blocked from being uploaded last week. You know?
oh, so they're still doing
And
it.
Oh, come on.
so yeah, we're getting blocked every now and then. But the strikes rolled off. I realized there was a re-education quiz I was supposed to take to release one of the strikes.
Like when you get a ticket and you have to go
Yeah.
to driving school. That
It
is
was
so.
And so I had to
great.
answer. I mean, if you answer it wrong, they just tell
It's
you
great
what the
because
answer
we love
is.
YouTube.
You just answer something else. But I let that sit there for like 6 months. I didn't realize I was supposed to take the test.
Right.
And so then it has to roll off and all that. And I think we're back.
We're almost there.
Almost back.
Almost. I think
Yeah.
we need one more hour. Somebody
Of
watching.
class, a
Yes.
credit hour for school.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then YouTube will finally be back in session. So
Is it quicker if you wear a mask and do it?
might be. Anyway, what's so weird about that is the strike was actually from us reading a CDC article. It
Yeah.
was that video.
It was
We
an
were reading
actual study.
CDC article.
Oh my God.
I had to take screenshots of it and send it to them. And that one specifically, they did release because I screenshot it and sent it to them. And
But I'd
it was
still-
like, yeah.
We
But
got
the
a
fact that
strike.
you had to do that is like
Yes.
crazy.
Oh man.
Anyway, we're everywhere else. We're definitely
We love YouTube.
we're definitely on Twitter X. You can
Yeah.
find us there at Good AM Liberty. Go to all the links in the show notes, godhatesfeds.com, goodmorningliberty.us. Support the sponsors that support the show. And if you do all of that, or you're not,
Or don't do it.
yeah, don't do
You're
it.
free to do nothing.
Yeah.
If you want to. Tweet
I don't-
about something this weekend. Just tweet. That's fine.
I don't
Yeah.
really care, but Nate does if you don't do that stuff. Then we'll be back again tomorrow for some Dumb Bleep of the Week. Until then, I hope you have a good day and a good morning, Liberty.